I didn't realize a life could be erased so quietly. No shouting, no warning, just a sentence delivered like an item on a checklist. The afternoon before my daughter's in-laws arrived, I was folding laundry on the edge of my bed when she appeared in the doorway. Her arms were crossed, her face already settled into something rehearsed. "Mom," she said, without greeting, "you'll need to pack your things." I looked up, still holding a sock that belonged to my grandson. "Pack? Where am I supposed to go?" She sighed, irritated, as if I were slowing her down. "A hotel. My in-laws are staying here. I'm not putting them on a couch." Before I could answer, her husband stepped in, his voice calm but sharp. "It's just awkward with you here," he said. "You don't really contribute anymore." That was when his parents walked in past me, opening drawers, inspecting the room like it already belonged to them. His mother wrinkled her nose. "It's small," she said, "but at least it's quiet." Quiet, that word followed me like a verdict. No one asked how I felt. No one waited for my response. I realized then this wasn't sudden. This had been planned. I had heard the whispers before, advice disguised as concern, comments about appearances, about status, about how having an elderly mother around didn't look good. I had spent my life keeping numbers straight, first for my husband's business, then for neighbors who trusted me. I noticed things, discrepancies, timelines that didn't align, questions that were never answered directly. I think that's what made him uncomfortable. I remembered too much. The house they stood in, the one they now treated like a stage, had been built on years of discipline, sacrifice, and careful planning. I believed it would hold us together. Instead, it had become proof that I was no longer needed. My daughter dropped hotel keys into my hand without meeting my eyes. "Just for one night," she said. "Don't make this a big deal." I packed slowly, quietly, like someone trying not to take up space in her own life. As I wheeled my suitcase past them, I realized something had shifted inside me, not loudly, not dramatically, but permanently. And I didn't yet know that this night away from home would change everything. Because while they slept comfortably in my bed, I was about to uncover the truth that would unravel their entire world. The hotel room smelled like bleach and old carpet, the kind of clean that tries too hard to erase what came before. I set my suitcase down and had to sit because my hands were shaking, not from fear but from shock. These were the same hands that signed mortgage papers, that counted grocery money twice, that held my daughter when she was sick. Now they trembled over a motel bedspread. When my husband died, people told me I shouldn't be alone. But I didn't want replacement companionship. I wanted stability. I wanted something solid my daughter could always return to. That became the house. I never complained. I never dramatized my grief. I paid bills. I stayed quiet. When my daughter married and said they needed time to save, I opened my door because family didn't keep score. What I didn't understand then was that silence can turn into permission. I noticed the numbers long before I noticed the cruelty. Contracts too polished, expenses labeled vaguely, payments that didn't make sense if you slowed down long enough to look. I asked questions gently. Like a mother, he smiled, talked faster, changed the subject. Later, my daughter asked why I was always suspicious. So I stopped asking. I told myself endurance was strength. At midnight, my phone buzzed. A message from my daughter. "Come back early tomorrow. Don't be around the house. They'll be uncomfortable." I stared at the screen, waiting for concern to appear between the words. It never did. The crying came quietly, efficiently, then it stopped, leaving behind something colder but clearer. I opened my suitcase and pulled out the thin folder I always carried. Bank notices, copies, documents. I never threw away because memory alone isn't protection. One letter caught my eye. A personal guarantee. My signature. Signed years earlier when he said, "Just until we're stable." I realized how close the review date was, how much depended on my silence. As dawn crept in, I made my first call not in anger, not in revenge, but in clarity. For the first time in years, I wasn't protecting anyone but myself. By morning, one phone call would begin a chain reaction they never saw coming. The banker recognized my voice immediately. Respect does that, it remembers. I asked calmly what would happen if I withdrew my personal guarantee. He didn't dramatize it. He explained the process: reviews, holds, verification, weakness. Exposed if weakness existed. I thanked him and hung up. Next, I called the attorney who had handled my husband's estate. She listened quietly, then asked a question that wasn't legal, it was personal. Are you ready to stop shielding them? I thought of being told not to exist in my own home. Yes, I said, I am. The next hours weren't dramatic. They were methodical. I laid documents out neatly. Emails, receipts, invoices that didn't match deliveries. Nothing stolen. Nothing altered. Just truth collected patiently while everyone assumed I was invisible. When I signed the withdrawal request, my hand trembled for a moment. Then it steadied. I felt no triumph, only relief. When I returned to the house, everything looked peaceful. Curtains open, cars parked neatly, his parents sipping coffee like nothing had changed. Inside, the system had already begun to strain. A payment didn't clear, a credit line paused. A call came from accounting. He snapped, blamed the bank. Then panic found my daughter. Can you control your mother? He hissed. That's when I stepped inside. I didn't gloat. I didn't explain. I stood quietly as his phone rang again, this time, with words that drained the color from his face. Documentation required. Effective immediately. My daughter looked at me differently then. Not with embarrassment but recognition. What did you do? She whispered. I stopped holding everything together. I said, that's all. And the silence that followed wasn't erasing. It was revealing. But what came next wasn't collapse, it was confrontation. And they wanted one last thing from me. Dinner was set like nothing was wrong. His mother sat in my chair, the one by the window, without asking. A small act, a deliberate one. My daughter hovered, nervous. His impatience filled the room. Mom, she said, can you just apologize for the stress? Just say it, he added. You're making my family look bad. That's when I understood. They didn't want peace. They wanted proof I would kneel. His mother spoke calmly, politely. An older woman living off her daughter isn't dignified. No one defended me. I looked at my grandson watching silently, learning something I refused to teach him. I stood. I'm not apologizing, I said. The room froze. I don't live off anyone. I'm the reason this house stood when there was no money and no plan. She snapped that it wasn't my house. It's the house I held together, I replied. And I won't kneel in it. I picked up my coat. My grandson ran to me, hugging my waist. I love you, he whispered. I love you too, I said, and meant it enough to leave. For the first time in years, I walked away without shrinking. And when I left, the real collapse finally began. The fallout didn't arrive loudly. Contracts weren't renewed. Partners pulled out quietly. Audits began. Questions demanded answers he didn't have. Confidence collapsed under inspection. My daughter called more often now, her certainty gone, her voice smaller. I thought choosing the right people would fix everything, she said. She came to me weeks later, exhausted, apologetic but afraid. I didn't rush to comfort her. Truth needs room. I told her what I wouldn't undo. The guarantee was gone. The silence was gone. The version of me that endured humiliation was gone. I love you, I said. But I won't erase myself again. I moved into a small apartment. Sunlight, quiet, no history in the walls. I chose what stayed. I chose when to answer calls. The world didn't collapse when I set boundaries. It adjusted. I used to believe being a good mother meant suffering quietly. I know better now. Love does not require disappearance. I didn't take revenge. I returned the truth. And in doing so, I took myself back. If this story felt familiar, stay with this channel. Some truths are quiet, but they change everything.